Okay, don't get me wrong, I love the concept of Pokemon Home. Ever since I was little, bringing Pokemon from game to game was super fun for me, and I get it's not a deal breaker for everyone, but I'm genuinely sad when I can't bring a Pokemon with me from one gen to another. But Caden, I think we both can admit it's less than perfect.
Yeah, man, I really don't like Pokemon Home.
All right, let's get into some observations. First of all, it's clunky in countless ways. Things that should take so little time often end up taking way too long for them to even be worth it. This search feature on the Switch version specifically really sucks.
Dude, it is so bad.
Sorting in general in here is just way too hard. We've got AI running rampant all over the place. Why can't we have some kind of home AI to reorganize our boxes in whichever configurations we want based on a prompt or something? Like, give me all my water types organized by Pokedex number. Why can't I do that? And when I say that, I mean actually put them in the boxes in that way. Like, there's no sorting. Like, I can look at them for a second there, but if I want to go to any of these Pokemon, I've literally got to click here, go jump to box, and now I can't find any of the other ones. And to set up that sort again, I've got to go all the way back out to my list view and add those filters and sorts all over again. It's ridiculous.
There should be some sort of AI search feature or organization feature in this app.
Like, give me all my normal type shinies that hatch from eggs, or organize all of my legendary Pokemon in order into new empty boxes. These are all things that should just be able to happen. It's 2025.
Or organize my box by dex number.
Easy.
Yeah.
Most of the services in Home, you can only do in the mobile app. What is wrong with that?
Yeah, Trev, this one personally irks me. No Wonder Trade, no Friend Trades, no GTS, none of it through the Switch.
And not only that, but even if you do want to trade on this app, you got to wait until you're 18. So it's reserved for us aged like cheddar Pokemon fans.
Like Cabot cheddar? Sorry, I'm hungry.
Here's one I've been dealing with recently. Trying to get my shiny Meloetta, right? Apparently, having the Pokemon in-game does not register that Pokemon into your home Pokedex. You have to physically drag them into home, and then if you want them in the game again, you've got to drag them back out of home into the game to use, and that's the only way to register them in your home dex.
How in 2024 do I still need to drag Pokemon into the service when it knows I have the game and has all my data from the game?
What makes me the most mad about this is Pokemon Home's entire service is syncing Pokemon Home with the mainline games. And yet, the one thing it fails to do is sync its Pokedex with the mainline games.
It's just baffling, dude. I can't.
Okay, I get this might not be a problem for most people, but I've seen a lot of it online. And if you're going for a complete Pokedex, or a living dex, or a shiny living dex, or a form dex, or anything like that, the truth is, 6,000 Pokemon is not enough. It's not enough box space. Look at this. I've got barely any left over. Certainly no empty boxes, really. Maybe one or two here. But other than that, I've got a ton that are completely filled and then a whole bunch that only have a few spots available. What are we doing here? Like, when we get to new games, what am I supposed to do? Just start releasing a bunch of stuff? I don't know. I know I'm not the most organized Pokemon Home player, but 6,000 is not enough.
By the time we're on Gen 10, we'll have no room left on Pokemon Home, dude.
Speaking of boxes, why can't I, for instance, take this one box, let's open this guy up right here. I've got one empty space on row 2, 2 empty spaces on row 6. Why isn't there a consolidate button that automatically takes Pokemon, fills the spaces, and leaves all the empty space at the end of the box so that I can drag batches of Pokemon into that empty space? The only way I can do it is by, yep, you guessed it, take the controller, hit the buttons, move Pokemon one by one. Yay.
My mind's blown. I never thought of that. That would have been so helpful.
Literally every Pokemon game could have this, and they don't.
Why? Why Nintendo?
Okay, here's one that really bothers me, and it gets to me when the game is idling. The music is so repetitive and annoying. It's just constantly do 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 do.
No, that's not it.
Yeah, that is it.
I thought the home music was like the da 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 da. I don't know.
No.
Am I wrong?
Yeah. I will admit, the sound effects are clean. Like, the sound effects are really clean. But here's what I really want. You ready for this? Doesn't take much. We'll touch more on this later. Give me a music player where I can unlock tracks from each generation based on how many Pokemon I have filled in that generation's Pokedex. And then they just play it. You can play them in home.
Why don't we work for Nintendo?
I don't know, man. Okay, this is more for the mobile app maybe than it is for my personal Pokemon Home. But have you noticed there are hacked Pokemon everywhere?
No, I haven't actually.
Are they on top of it surprisingly now? Here's the thing. This has been a problem ever since the Gen 6 GTS. It's getting a little better, but I've got to be honest, public trust in the GTS system has never been lower.
Absolutely.
If I wanted to catch a shiny and nickname it freeshiny.com, now people would know it's inauthentic because you're getting all sorts of these things from Blastoise.tv or whatever it's called.
Machamp, Durant.
Speaking of the GTS, can we please find a way to remove the trades that nobody will ever do? It's like I go on and I'm trying to look for one good trade. And first I have to scroll through like 50 people looking for level 100 shiny Pharaoh trim Furfroos before I find the one realistic trade that I can complete here. Plus, you can enter impossibly low level Pokemon. Like I can ask for a level 10 Venusaur and the trades will just be cluttered with this one guy looking for a level 10 Venusaur.
No. The worst ones are the people who are asking for a Blood Moon Ursaluna that can go into a game it can't go to. All of the foreign Pokemon can do that. You can ask for a like Hisuian Quillfish that can go into BDSP. It'll just let you do it.
I'm just, even if people were dumb enough to make the trades that are listed, they can't. You know why? Because they're impossible. I can't be logged into Home on my phone, and literally while recording this, I just realized I can't be logged into Home on my phone and my Switch at the same time. There's another one.
Yeah, that's the worst one for sure.
But of course, there are features on one that I can't use on the other, so to use the whole app, you can never actually use the whole app. Okay, this used to be one of my favorite features, but now it's just kind of gotten annoying. Starting in Scarlet and Violet, the points don't really mean anything. Like, at least in Sword and Shield, BP was somewhat harder to obtain, but in Scarlet and Violet, LP is basically just money, so it's laughable that they think for 5,000 Pokemon deposited into Pokemon Home, that 90,000 Pokedollars is a worthwhile reward for that. That's like not even enough to make one Pokemon competitive. I can get that in like 20 minutes of playing the game with some of the money farming methods out there.
How about they start giving us things that are worthwhile for our deposits?
Oh, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
So I didn't want to talk about it a lot, but the elephant in the room here is that Pokemon Go muddies things up quite a bit. The Pokemon Go compatibility is cool, but it was made almost useless by the fact that Let's Go and Scarlet and Violet exist. I do like how in the case of this swine up here, Pokemon Go is good at origin marking and it shows up really clearly in Home. That's a rare W for sure. But there's just so much weird stuff around Pokemon Go in Pokemon Home that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, quick rant. Pokemon Go having limited energy to send over Pokemon is dumb.
I actually disagree.
Why?
Because if it didn't have limited energy, you could just transfer all of your mythicals and legendaries all at once.
Yeah, and shinies, right? Community Day shinies. But with all these mythicals and legendaries, you're saying that Pokemon is aware of how much Community Day shinies dilute the rarity of shinies and how much the mythicals dilute the rarity of mythicals, and they're doing something about it, right? But if you're gonna allow these Pokemon to exist in Home anyways, then you're at the same time not doing anything about it. Like, it's just weird. And hell, don't get me wrong, I love Community Day and I don't mind Pokemon Go. Nothing totally against it. I just think it could be better. I think the connection could be better. And although they're nice and clear about it, it's just like, if you're gonna let them transfer Pokemon, just let them transfer Pokemon. Why do I have to do it 1 week at a time? Got anything to add for Pokemon Go? Any thoughts so far?
Yeah, I wish you could transfer the forms exclusive to Pokemon Go into Home. Like the costume forms, the armored Mewtwo, clone versions of the Kanto starters, stuff like that.
Even if you can't get the forms in game game or whatever, just give them like a ribbon or something, like a Go event ribbon, so you've got a marking of what it was.
Or just keep them locked in home, but it's not like they're not doing that for regular Pokemon anyway.
True. All right, getting into some wishful thinking here, but probably my favorite thing they could change would be a battle feature. It would need to be at least as good as Pokemon Showdown or even the classic Pokemon Stadium. Kind of like everything Showdown is, but just with the added ability to use Pokemon from your PC boxes and in home so that the Pokemon aren't just sitting there forever.
I find it weird that Showdown is a free service, while Home costs an arm and a leg. And it doesn't have it.
It has pretty much nothing.
It lets me keep my Spinda around.
Here's what I really wish they would do. For every new game that comes out, make Home not compatible from the start. They've kind of already did this with BDSP. Let people enjoy the game for what it is for a little while. And then add an official Pokemon Home compatibility update that updates that battle system and competitive play, which should be hosted through Pokemon Home, so you don't have to keep putting it in every new game. And then let every Pokemon go into the new games. Make the Dexit people happy. But just do it after a while. Make that a big patch to the game. Even if it's a year after the game comes out, let the game be what it is for a year. Let the competitive scene enjoy it for what it is. Let the collectors experience the game without just like spamming their Pokedex full of old Pokemon. It allows you to enjoy the new games for what they are, but then also appeases all the players while not having that stress on Game Freak to do it at launch. They're basically like 80% of the way there anyways, right? I mean, let me look up how many Pokemon are in Scarlet and Violet. Now after the Indigo Disc, there are only 185 Pokemon missing. So with a third DLC or, this compatibility patch I was talking about, that would fix the issue that people are talking about. And even if it was like, this would have been 3 years after release, but I don't think anybody would care. Like, that's new content. Even if it's old content, nobody's asking for all the Pokemon at launch. They just want to be able to play the game with all the Pokemon in it eventually.
But Game Freak would rather sell us on $60 expansions.
Think of how much more replay value a lot of these games would have if after a few years you had these compatibility updates.
I'd go back.
Yeah, playing these games with older Pokemon would be so fun. Everybody wants to use Watchog right now.
And Furfrou.
Pansage.
Well, Pansage you can use in Sword and Shield. Oh, I'm thinking of Pangoro.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Simisear, dude.
Exactly.
I want to use Simisear.
It's just like having to pay for a service to hold all your Pokemon and transfer them into other games, but then not actually ever being able to bring the Pokemon into the other games while I'm paying monthly to watch some of those old Gen 5 Pokemon that have been locked for years to just sit there and rot and do nothing is crazy.
Literally, dude.
Like, at least just give us access to them somehow. Any way. Like, if you're not going to give us a battle simulator, at least give us some Pokemon ME or Pokemon Camp type thing or a Poketch game or something to make these creatures feel like they're let out of their digital vault from time to time.
Trev, do you remember the Pokedex 3D on the 3DS that came out right before the Kalos game?
I feel like I do, yeah.
It was a Pokedex. Kind of seemed like a predecessor to Pokemon ME. Had every Pokemon, their 3D models, a little bit of stuff about them. Something like that would be sick. You could see your Pokemon, it could move around, have a little bit of fun, and do whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. The Pokedex 3D Pro thing.
Yeah, why isn't that in Pokemon?
Rest in peace, eShop. Pokemon Go, back to that, already has a feature to take photos using augmented reality with your Pokemon. Why can't the camera app in Home on the phone take advantage of that functionality? Why can't I take pictures with my shiny?
Trevor and his 700 shinies just in one picture.
And realistically, the last thing, and this is what always pulls me into any game, no matter how bad the game is, right?
Shinies?
Like, no, not shinies, achievements or rewards. Like, it's as simple as that. With a collector game like Pokemon, I filled out Home for the Magearna, right? And I feel like so many people would do more in this game, if you can call it that, if there were more tangible achievements and worthwhile rewards. Like, give us a trainer card. You've given us a trainer card in so many games. Make it change color as you fill up your decks so that you can flex on people that like, oh, my Home has got this skin in the back. But no, everybody's Pokemon Home is literally this ugly green color forever.
So gross.
You just gotta have something for that itch to collect. Bottom line, make it feel more like a real game.
And not just a jail for your Pansage.
Like, if you're going to charge for it, that's fine, but make it playable. And sadly, in this great year of 2025, Pokemon Home has yet to feel like play. Thanks for watching. Here are all my shinies locked in home.
In the arms of an angel.